Well, lots going on at Abu Dhabi. As we said last week with our video entitled Down to the Wire, GP3 and GP2 in the balance. As it happened, both championships clinched on the first day of offering. In other words, the first race, the Saturday race, both GP3 and GP2. The new Scuderia Toro Rosso driver, Daniel Kvyat, made absolutely no mistakes, looked like a Formula One driver as he led from the pole to clinch that championship in a most emphatic way. Very impressive. Kvyat, Rob, wasn't he? I know he's never been up to Bruntingthorpe, but probably why he's no, I shouldn't say that.
No, quite true.
He looked really good.
He had that Kimi Vettel look about him, didn't he?
I mean, a lot of people are saying, oh, money, 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 that's why he's there. But this guy, I think, and I think Rob probably agrees with me, has certainly genuine talent and drove beautifully. The GP3 races, as ever, very difficult to overtake at Abu Dhabi, so quite frustrating for those who didn't qualify well. But if we look at the results, Alexander Sims and Nick Yellow did very, very close Carlin battle there for second and third in race one. Connor Daly, not quite there for ART. He was mathematically in with a chance of winning the championship, but ended up with a third on the Sunday, but ahead of his teammate Jack Harvey. Second race, Tio Ellinas. You know a little bit about Tio, don't you? You're a bit of a Tio fan.
Well,
he won that from the pole, from the pole.
Dug him out of the dust there in Cyprus. He'd done a
In Cyprus,
something like that. You know what? I think he got some talent, and he looked very stylish. It was a bit wrong-footed during the race one. I was watching him there. You know, he didn't. He was a bit in trouble there from time to time, but he got a win in race two.
Very, very good to see him finishing the year well. He started it well, went into a slump, or the team did, who knows, but finished with that win. But the guy that really impressed me was Dean Stoneman, who I've never met, I have to say, I have to confess, but I've read a lot about him and I respect him completely for not only for his talent and what he's achieved, but also for his battle with cancer, and to come back effectively from that and to do as well as he did in his GP3 debut was just brilliant. I thought he finished second in the second race and sixth in the first, but I thought also very good the preparation. He went out to Abu Dhabi a couple of weeks before and he raced in a minor sports car race there and won it from the pole. And that sort of attention to detail always pays off. I know you've worked with Dean before, haven't you?
Dean's a good guy and a really, really good driver. He also, because he did Formula 2, and as a result of that, he got a test
the FIA Jonathan Palmer.
Jonathan Palmer's one,
right?
And then he got a test in the Formula 1 Williams. And they were impressed. I know some people that were there saying...
Yeah, I remember talking to Johnny Williams about him. And then he got sick, and he's been racing this year in Porsche Super Cup UK. And then did that radical race out in Abu Dhabi. So absolute full marks to Dean Stoneman, and to finish top three in that second race. Very, very good performance. And congratulations again to Daniel Kvyat. And you can read watch the interview we did with him before Abu Dhabi, just the day after he'd learnt that he was going to be the STR Formula One driver next year. Well, GP2, Sam Bird looking very good, qualified ahead of Fabio Leimer. First race start was aborted, clutches got hot, and Sam, not for the first time in his career, sadly stalled at the start. Same thing happened at Monaco a few years ago. But he did then recover beautifully. I mean, what a disappointment for Sam Bird. But he finished 10th in that first race from the pit lane and finished 4th in the second race, thereby clinching the team championship for Russian time. You know, it's interesting, isn't it, that in both GP3 and GP2, the teams that won the championship were not related to the drivers that won the championship. Just shows how competitive it is. But GP2, it was Russian time. They finished on the same points as Carlin, but they won it on a countdown in race wins, deservedly so. And in GP3, it went to ART, the team championship, even though the champion, as we know, is from MW Arden. And just looking at the results, looking at the number of wins and spread over both championships, very, very competitive. But in that GP2 result, Rob, I think you've also had some good drivers there as well that you've worked with. Not the least of which was Marcus Ericsson over the season. A little bit disappointing for Marcus, but he's shown a lot of pace, and one would have to say he's been a bit unlucky.
A bit unlucky, very, very talented driver, and has been in GP2 for a little while. But yeah, a very talented driver, and let's hope he gets a break. I know he's still got a lot of loyal following in Sweden, and they'd like to see him get into Formula One.
Alexander Rossi, the American, won the feature race, eventually winning a race this year. Good to see in Humphrey Corbett's team. I say Humphrey Corbett's team. He runs that team for Caterham, so good to see that. Jolyon Palmer, also very quick all year. He's won some good races. A driver that I think, well, bearing in mind he's Jonathan's son, it's difficult to imagine that he won't find his way into Formula One. He should be, and the pace is there. There's no doubt about that.
That's right. He looks talented.
Yeah, and James Collado finishing the year a bit like Theo Elinas, a disappointing year for him, ART driver, but nonetheless finishing the year with a good win. A very, very deft manoeuvre off the line to squeeze into the lead at the start of that Sunday race for him. Other results from the weekend. Our friend Tiago Monteiro, who we've always supported on the show and on my website, very, very nice guy. He manages also Antonio Felix da Costa, who sadly hasn't got the STR drive for next year, but he was in Abu Dhabi. And Tiago, meanwhile, was racing in Shanghai and scored his first win in the World Touring Car Championship, the wheel of the new Honda. So that's good for Honda, coming back into racing with the WTCC and, of course, returning to Formula One with McLaren in 2015. On the same day, in the other race, Tom Chilton won in his Chevrolet. I think you've raced or you've driven against Tom or something at some sort of event at Goodwood, didn't you, Rob, at one point?
I did do a few laps just to set a marker time for him to.
Yeah, right. Now, how did it go?
Well, I might have had a small lead there, but
Rob, good. Bit, Well, you should have been in Shanghai as well.
No, I wasn't bringing that up.
You know, I really, really felt sorry though for Sam Bird, because he's been there before, as I say, Monaco on the pole when he was driving for iSport and stalled there. A very, very slow parade lap, formation lap at Monaco, and if you're on the pole you need to make allowance for the length of that lap. It takes a long time for the field to pull up. By the time they did, the clutch had got too hot then. And there was a similar story in Abu Dhabi. The first start was aborted, and by the time Sam came around, he was front row, second row, the clutch had got too hot again. Anyway, let's catch up with Sam and see what he's got to say. Sam, thanks for joining us, and what a job. P10 from the pit lane and then fourth in race 2, clinched the championship for the team. Yeah, could have won the drivers, but it wasn't a bad weekend.
Yeah, obviously I was gutted not to take the fight to Fabio a little bit closer to Sunday, but looking back at the year that we had, it was a fairly phenomenal story. The fact that I didn't have any kind of drive in March, I had a broken hand going into the first round at Malaysia, and to run somebody so close in the championship hunt with a brand new team was not too bad, with 5 wins as well.
Well, it was very impressive. And I, for one, voted for you on that Pirelli Trophy that you so deservedly won for tyre management. I think that at least is some consolation, I hope, anyway.
Oh, no, thank you. That's it's a great award. It's a very nice thing to have. To know that people have voted for me with the best tyre management is a bit of an honour, which is great. I suppose we did show that we improved our tyre management throughout the year, you know, with some big wins and some significant performances. So, yeah, I think that it's a fantastic award. I'm very happy to have won it. Also, I forgot to mention what you said earlier, Peter, the fact that we won the Teams Championship, which is what we set out to try and achieve early on in the year. It looked fairly impossible at the beginning, but, you know, fairy tales sometimes do come true, and this is a fairly monumental occasion, I think, in GP2 history for a team to come in and win in its first year.
No doubt about that, and very interested to see you in the Russian time new GP3 team today. I know that wouldn't have been something that would have sat with you necessarily well, but you work for a company, you work for a race team, they've got a new car out there, needs to be driven. I imagine you had a bit of fun in that little thing.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's obviously not part of the progression for my career. However, I was asked to help out, and of course, seeing as the Russian time have given me such a great deal this year in GP2, I will gladly help them out in developing their car. We landed up fourth for the day, which at the time was set on an old set of tyres actually. So we improved the car quite substantially throughout the day, and we landed up being pretty quick. So we were happy with that.
What did it feel like after a GP2 car, or even an F1 car for that matter? Slow.
But no, it's it's a good stepping stone when you come out of, say, Formula Renault or something to go to before you jump into a big car. It's obviously it's on the tracks for F1. It supports GP2 and F1, so it's a good stepping stone, and I would recommend it to young drivers.
Well, Sam, as I say, 2 difficult races for you after that problem. Can you just talk us a little bit through that problem? I know you don't want to talk about the first start, but I guess it was related to that aborted start and having to do that extra lap and the clutch.
Yeah, the thing is with GP2 is that the bike point does move quite substantially when it gets hot, and we had an aborted start, which just put a little bit of extra strain on the clutch, and when that happened, the bike point moved so substantially that I had no idea where the bike point was anymore, and that led to obviously the stall. So, you know, it is what it is. I will learn from this. And it was a disappointment, but when I look at the bigger picture, Peter, it was still a pretty special year.
Oh, it was, Sam. And I just got to ask you about what it felt like sitting in the car there. It's got to be the worst nightmare for any race driver, I would imagine, if you're at the front of the grid and you've stalled.
Yeah, it's pretty horrendous, but about 5 seconds later, with my professional hat on, just had to say, right, it is what it is. You have a job and requirement to now drive the race of your life and see how far up the grid you can get. Can you get reverse grid pole? That was obviously my aim from where I was, which was 40 seconds down on second last or something, which we nearly achieved. At least I got 1 point and then was able to come fourth on race 2. So not a complete disaster, considering I was able to bring home the team trophy for them.
Amazing result, and amazing also when you think of how long the season's been and how many points are up to be scored, that 2 teams can end equal on points, and it can be as close as it was. And every little pass you made, every little thing you did that weekend actually added up.
Yeah, when you look at it like that, we did throw away an awful lot of points as well, as did many other teams, many other drivers. But as a new team, you do make mistakes. I felt like, except that the start finish, the start line problem that I had on Saturday, I felt like I drove pretty well without too many mistakes this year. But as a new team, we did have some teething problems. So I fully expect that if Russian Time do have a strong driver lineup next year, that they are really going to be a force to be reckoned with.
And I should just add here, if I can just say something about Pirelli as well. We talked about the Pirelli Trophy earlier, but I'm sure I know how much you would have appreciated this at your stage of the career at Facca Regalia is at. But he won 200,000 euros from Pirelli because he was the highest placed driver in GP3 without an F1 deal in place, and that's not an insubstantial amount of money to take towards a GP2 season, so that's very nice to see as well. Sam, I guess now the big question is 2014 in your mind, and I've got to ask it, how are you feeling about that at the moment?
Positive, Peter. Yeah, I've got to be. I'm going into the 2013 winter season and 2014 start season off the back of probably my most impressive season to date in big cars. So that can only be a positive. There seems to be some hype around me at the moment, so that's fantastic as well. We're speaking to quite a few people in quite a few different championships, stemming from Formula One to over in America to other categories in Europe. So it's all good. Just need to sort out what I think is best for me in the long haul and go with it.
Well, I'm sure whatever you choose, you'll do well, as ever, Sam. Thanks for talking to us, and again, great job on securing that team championship and on those 2 excellent drives.
Thank you ever so much, Peter. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. Sam Berg, I always love seeing drivers out of context. GP2 driver in a GP3 car. I once pulled that off at Autocar. I say pulled it off because I was actually quite pleased that it happened. There was lots of talk, but I actually, at the time Ronnie was driving Formula One for March, I got him into Bruno Giacomelli's Formula 3 March, at the Silverstone pre-British Grand Prix test, and he did about 5 laps, purely for Autocar magazine. And we got lots of photographs of it, and he was great. He was almost right there, as you can imagine. Yeah. Unfortunately, Bruno didn't then get in the F1 car, which is the other thing we were trying to pull off. Good guy, Bruno.
Was that 76?
Yeah, it would have been about 76. Yeah, exactly then, yeah. And Rob, finally, before we go, 2 things I know you're going to like. LP records, for a start. Now, they're saying that LP records are not only becoming collector's items because they are LP records and because we know they're not digital, they're analog, and it's a purer sound, but the covers also. They don't produce covers like this anymore on CDs, do they? Yeah. And here are 2 that I thought you might like from my collection that I managed to dig out last week because I knew you were coming on the show. This one, a Jackie Stewart LP, produced at the end of the 69 season, beautifully produced. You can imagine as a kid what I thought of this when I was able to go out and buy this. And it has this beautiful insert. And here are some of the titles. The songs: Tumult at Monza, Teamwork at the Timber Yard, narrated by Ken Tyrrell. An Anonymous Start, Charter Hall 62. Fast Moving Industry with Walter Hayes. In the Seat of Your Pants, Jackie talks us through a lap on board at Molinari, interestingly enough, in the wet. Side 2, that's only side 1. Flip side is Kyalami, 69 revisited. He goes through the championship season of 69. Before the battle, a look into the build-up at the start, and safely into a faster future. So that is a collector's item, I think, and it's just a wonderful record. And the other one, which I'm sure many of you probably have bought on eBay at some point, but I bought this when Grand Prix was out. When it came to Australia in '67, one of the first things I did was buy this LP, and again, a lovely bit in the middle. You don't get they don't make them anymore. This is from
the film track. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm getting around to saying, Rob, is that when Grand Prairie do their next CD, I think it should come with a huge extra magazine thing giveaway.
Sure. Yeah.
Mega cover like this.
What a great idea.
Yeah, it is a great idea, isn't it?
Yes, we should do that. I saw that film. I still think that's the best film of all time for me.
I do. I think it's a great shame that Frankenheimer was not able to make Grand Prix 2 as he wanted to in the mid-80s. He came over with a big budget, I think it was Paramount, and did a lot of groundwork, and eventually just couldn't do it because of the rights issues that had evolved since '66. Right, yeah. But I'm on Twitter a lot with the son of the guy that plays Nino Ballini, Antonio Sabato Jr., and he's a wonderful man, great racing fan as well. Anyway, Rob, thanks for joining us on the show.
But can I hear that album, the Stewart one? I want to hear the Stewart one.
Yeah, we got to play it privately because I'm sure it's all rights controlled and all this, but you can definitely hear it because it's a wonderful thing. Yeah, we'll try and do something with it anyway. Rob, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks to Guido van der Garde. Thanks to Sam Bird. See you next week.